right? As instructors, we always want to take the student-centered approach to understand the different learning styles from our students. So we can be adapting maybe to the different learning styles. Because of my content and the things I'm doing in the user experience design field, you have to do that. There's no choice. You have to learn, right, what the industry is doing currently and how to help our students better equipped with all the knowledge.
Welcome to the CFI Faculty Lounge Podcast, an outlet created for continuous learning and actionable insights for faculty. I'm your host, Eric Magrum, inviting you to join us in conversation with dedicated educators who share their experiences, challenges, and effective solutions. Today, we welcome Dr. Chen Guo, an associate professor within the School of Media Arts and Design here at James Madison University. Chen has experience with human-centered approaches, user interaction, and user experience design, which I'd love to chat more about as we get going. Welcome, Chen, and thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Eric.
So can you talk us through what brought you here to JMU and sort of your educational journey up to this point?
Sure. My journey began when I was a little kid, learning up the kids who are smaller than me and teaching them how to, what are the different math concepts and teaching them how to read poems and stories. I remember that I love the feeling of explaining things to the kids, like they act as my students. And I love when I assign homework to the smaller kids. So that playful spark still exists in my body. And when I was in college, I started to mentor and tutor the undergraduate students. I taught them how to use JavaScript, jQuery, D3 library, VB script. I also taught the undergraduate students how to use AutoCAD and Revit.
Wow, those are some higher level technological tools.
Yeah, I know. That is exactly my first teaching experience. It happened when I was in a graduate school at Purdue University. So that's when I taught the undergraduate students Revit and AutoCAD. And I demonstrate how to use the software in front of, I remember 40 different undergraduate students. Sometimes they were confused. And my teaching evaluation during the first year was very difficult to read.
I can imagine. Yes. I've been in that place as well. Teaching evaluations can be very polarizing at times.
Yeah, I know. And especially during the early years.
So what things have you taken from your early years and those teaching evaluations and then infused into your classroom?
Yes, that's a great question. So when I was in graduate school and when I taught those courses, I only deliver the information. Because for me, when I understand teaching, I say just deliver the lecture, right? That's it. But it looks like the student, they don't like it. And when I demonstrate the software, I just stare at my computer screen and kept talking about it. And the students, they want me to slow down because they couldn't be able to keep up with me. So I learned from all my mistakes. So right now, when I taught all my courses, and I always check with my students and frequently ask my students, is it clear to you? Are you able to follow me? And any questions? So I learn from all my mistakes and grow from my early years.
So it sounds like you moved from a very content-oriented pedagogy to a very learner-centered pedagogy.
Exactly.
And can you sort of walk us through that iteration? How did that come about? Did you know to go in that direction, or how did that organically come about?
Yes. So my formal teaching career starts here at JMU. I remember during the first 2 years, I still didn't get it. I am not very familiar with my students. I didn't adapt to their like learning styles. I still deliver my lecture during the first 1 or 2 years. But then I realized I talked to I received a great support from the CFI. So I want to mention that I had a great mentor in CFI during my first 2 years, and he helped me a lot. I remember that we had a great discussion at the Greenberry's coffee shop. The food was really good there. The coffee was good. And we talked about how to like deliver the lecture in my classroom, how to add more hands-on learning activities and experience to my students. So I really appreciate that. I receive a lot of support from CFI. And I frequently talk with my colleagues in my department and my college. Well, my department didn't assign like official mentor to me, but I treat them as my mentors. They share their gracious experience with me. They offer great advice. For example, when you deliver the lecture, like maybe after 10 minutes, you can add some hands-on activities with the students. For example, when in my user experience design course, we're conducting user research. We talk about how to analyze the interview data using affinity diagramming. So affinity diagramming is a skill we frequently applied in the user research. But if you just let the students read the textbook or maybe watch the videos and listen to your lecture, and they didn't get it. So during the first year, when I deliver the content, I just explain how to do affinity diagramming to my students. I asked them to watch a video, but they didn't get it. They still do not know that is group work. And one student asked me, can I just apply the skills to my individual project? So I immediately get that. I know they didn't get a concept, because we can only apply affinity diagramming in a group work, like when you do brainstorming in a team, when you sketch out your ideas, and when you want to analyze your data, we can use affinity diagramming. So I started to think maybe I need to change my strategy. Instead of delivering like the dry content, maybe we can assign the students into different groups. And when they are in their small groups, and they can practice how to use affinity diagramming to analyze the interview data. So I started to design all the small like group activities in my course, and that turns to be a very effective strategy in my class.
So I want to come back to something you said, user experience design. Can you say more for the listeners, those who may be listening that do not have experience or have never heard that phrase?
Yes, user experience design. And also we call it US.
Okay.
Like US stands for user experience design. It tries to understand how user like feel and how they interact with your products. What are their overall feeling and attitudes toward your products?
And is that an area of your research, or is that an area of your teaching, or both?
Both.
Okay, so can you sort of walk us through how those two things coalesce or come together?
Yes. Because I'm doing the research in the user experience design field, I also teach 3 courses related to like this field. One course is a foundation course for the students in School of Media Arts and Design. We teach about the fundamentals in user experience design. The other course is more advanced course for the 300 level students, and we assign them into like the team projects. They propose their own design problem they want to solve, and they craft a solution like to solve their design problem using the skills we taught in the class. The third class I'm teaching is a research class, the user-centered research and usability evaluation. And because I'm conducting the research in this field as well, like I talk about, I always integrate my research into my teaching, because in our field, you can never get bored. You know, the industry, they always change their standards. For example, a few years ago, when I taught the course in the School of Media Arts and Design, I taught students how to use Sketch that's a software, how to use Sketch and XRP to wireframe and prototype the interface. Like you design mockup or you design like a wireframe to represent like your interface. And now the industry abandoned Sketch and XRP. They started to adopt a Figma. That's like a different app to do the wireframing and prototyping. So I need to frequently like update the course content to keep the us updated with the industry standard.
So user experience design, and that is normally for industry, folks who are going into industry. Is that an accurate statement? Or how is the user experience design utilized by your undergraduates, I guess is a better question.
Okay. So first, there are, maybe this is off topic, but maybe I can introduce more about this field. There are 3 different tracks in this field. If you are interested in design, and you can be a UX, we call it a UX designer, as a user experience designer in this field, and you may just focus on designing the product. If you are interested in the coding, and you want to be a developer in the future, you are really good at front-end design and development, you can go on the coding track and learn more about HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So the front-end design and development, you can be a developer in the future. And if you are interested in research, you can be a user, we call like a UXer, like a user researcher, user experience researcher in the future when you graduate. So we have 3 different tracks in this field, and they are related to each other. And when you work in a big company, they may hire a UXer, a user experience designer, and a developer. But when you work in a small company, and they want you to blend all the skills to know like everything in this field, so you can be both a developer and a designer.
So I'm going to focus on the product design. So the user experience designer. So they're designing things, products, maybe even software with the end user in mind.
Yes.
And so I think listeners are like, why would that relate to me? And my sort of link to that is within instructional design. I've taken a recent class in instructional design, and from what I understand, there's a thing called learner experience design, which I think takes lessons from user experience design and says, okay, we are now making a product. Instead of making a product that is focused on the end user, now we're focusing our instruction and how we design classes or instruction around the learner and what they're going to experience in the classroom, similar to what you were talking about.
Yes. Like you emphasize with your learners, right? As instructors, so we always want to take the student-centered approach to understand the different like learning styles from our students. So we can be adapting maybe to the different learning styles. That is something I'm always like trying to do. And that is exactly what I was struggling with during my first 2 years at JMU.
And did you see when you changed to more of a user design or a learner experience design model, did you see a change in A, the way you felt about your classes, and B, how students, the meaning they made from it?
Yes. So when I use more like instructor-centered approach, like you just deliver the lecture, and the students were not engaged at all. They just stare at their computer screens, and sometimes they fall asleep, and sometimes they just check their phone, read a message, and I was really frustrated. And I tell my students, just stop looking at your computer and focus on the lecture, but it didn't work really well. But after I switched to the more like learner-centered, student-centered approach, and the students became more engaged into the class. They really love all the hands-on learning experience. And sometimes when I do the flipped classroom, like I let the students maybe do the lecture and deliver the content, do some research on their own, they really love that experience.
That's so sort of counterintuitive though, because I think a lot of us were trained in more of a traditional content first or instructor driven approach. But I think students eat it up. Students eat up the student-centered approach because I think when we create experiences that allow them to learn through an experience, the content, rather than just focusing directly at the content, for whatever reason, that just seems to work. And I don't know if you have insights into why that might work to share with listeners, but I'd be curious to just hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, so I will give you a shared example with me. I encourage my student to participate in the design competition. At the first, they didn't get it. Like, why should I just want to complete the coursework. That's it. That when the course is over, why should I spend more effort, take more effort into submitting my work into a design competition? But a few groups, they got it, and they want to get like constructive feedback from the experts in the industry and in academia. So they follow me, and after we're done with the course, and they go ahead and submit their work to, for example, the CAI. Student design competition. That is the most prestigious competition in our field. And 1 year, like there's a group, they submit their work to the design competition, but then they receive an email from the committee. They say, "Oh, you submit your work to the wrong system." Because there is a link in the email say, hey, you need to click on the link and submit your work. But I think my students just were confused. They were confused, like which link they should click on and submit their work. But they tend to submit their work into the wrong place. And then they freak out and they were panic. And they email me, say, what should I do? I think we missed the deadline because it's over. Like, how should we should we contact to the committee members and resubmit our work? What should we do? So in my class, and usually if they cannot get it, and they will not learn from their mistakes. But this time, the students, I just email the committee members and tell them, hey, we work like a whole semester on this topic. Can you, like, we submit it to the wrong system? Can you just let us accept our work, and we can please open the system and we can resubmit it. I think when we talk about is student center, if I just submit work for my students, and they will never learn from their mistakes. But when I let my students handle that part, like polish your work, submit your work to the design competition, they learn from their mistakes, and they learn from what they are doing in their projects.
Yeah, I think any way that we can organically expose students to what the world is actually going to treat them like and give them feedback, and the more we can mesh those two things together, the better the learning experience is going to be.
Yes. The students need to learn that in our class, we can tolerate all the mistakes, right? If you miss the deadline and you can make up your work, maybe we just deduct the late points from your projects, but you can still submit it. But when you work in the industry, or when you submit your work to the professional venue, if you miss the deadline, right, that's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no way for you to make it up, and you need to learn from your mistakes.
Did they accept it, the students' work?
Yes, okay. They accept because they didn't miss a deadline. Okay. They just they click on the wrong link.
Got it. Understood.
And they think that they are just confused of the system. But that's the first time our students submitted their work to a professional conference. And then that's how I say I want to teach my students how to do the research and how to submit your research to the professional conference.
And I'm sure that's a worthwhile endeavor.
Yes.
And one that's full of learning, even if it was just, oh my gosh, we submitted to the wrong place. So I'm sure they learned something from that.
Yes.
So what does it mean to excel in your role?
Oh, that's a good question. And also a very difficult question to answer. I wish I knew the answers. I have seen a lot of faculty members, they show excellence in teaching and advising students. I have seen faculty members who are exceptional in mentoring undergraduate students. So I think different people, they have they may excel at the different levels. And for me, from my personal experience, I think how to keep the students engaged in the classroom, that is very important for the faculty members, and also how to mentor the undergraduate students. And that can also like help us excel in our role.
So excelling at engaging in the classroom and then mentoring. So I'm gonna ask 2 follow-up questions if that's okay.
Yes.
If you were helping somebody that maybe struggles with the engagement part, maybe that's not their forte in trying to engage in a lecture setting, what advice would you give them? And I am asking you to paint with a very broad brush. What advice would you give them to try to increase their engagement?
Okay. So that's a good question. Like if we are delivering like the lecture in our class and how to keep the students like more engaged, I think we can design some activities like when we deliver the lecture. Maybe even like you encourage the student to watch a video. So maybe they can pay attention to the video. Or when you deliver the content, do not deliver a lot of content at the same time, maybe one topic at a time, and that a student grasp the content and observe the content by themselves, and slow down the speed of the lecture, and give time for the student to think about what they have learned and reflect on the topic. And for my class, I always have some like small discussion after we introduce a new concept to my students. And I usually throw some questions into my classroom, and some students will talk about their experience, share their stories with us.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a total change. You could still use your lecture, but just maybe slow down the speed, maybe don't cover as much, and then infuse maybe a talk to your neighbor strategy or peer learning strategy.
Yes. I think that the small discussion going to help in my lecture. So I always ask my students a lot of questions. For example, when we deliver the content about, let me give you an example in my class. When we craft all the interview questions, and I encourage my students to ask more like open-ended questions during the user interview. And the students may ask why. Like when I do my survey, I always include the binary questions, like yes or no. Like, do you like the food in Harrisonburg, or do you prefer to watch videos on video sharing platforms? So we always ask those binary questions. Why should we ask more open-ended question during the user interview? So we kind of like have those conversations in my class. I encourage my students to come up with some open-ended interview questions and compare the pros and cons of the binary questions. For example, you can include the yes or no questions when you interview the users, but remember to ask a lot of probing and follow-up questions that can evoke more emotions and stories from the participants. And that is exactly what we are looking for when we conduct an interview, right? We want to hear more stories from the users, and we want more evoke more meaningful conversations between the participants and the facilitators. So those are like small strategies you may use in your classroom. That is also what I learned from my previous experience.
Our learners, I'm sure, would do well to infuse those into their classroom.
Yes.
So you talked about engaging from a lecture perspective and then mentoring. Can you give some advice on how to mentor students, particularly undergrads? Is that what you were referring to?
Yes, how to mentor undergraduate students. As I mentioned earlier, in my classroom, I want my students to submit work to the design competitions so they can have the constructive feedback from the industry and the experts. And in my SMAT 317 class, so that class we focus on the user interactive design. Our students, they come up with their own design problem and then come up with a solution to solve their design problem. every year, like in the fall semester, I encourage my students to submit their work to the student design competition. And after they are done with all the coursework, they need to work with me in the spring semester to polish their concept, prepare all the materials. They need to have prepare a poster, and they're a paper, a 6-page short abstract to summarize your work. So there's a poster, a paper, and a video. They need to prepare 3 things to submit to the design competition. So the students need to work with me during the winter break. So they can just relax during their winter break. They're gonna work with me to polish their design concept and polish their work and submit their work to the design competition. So I frequently meet with the students during the winter break and prepare all the materials. So we are very lucky, and there were 2 teams who are selected to enter to be the finalists on the student design competition. And in February, usually students are gonna receive the email from the committee. They say, "Oh, congratulations! Your work was selected as one of the finalists in our student design competition, and you were invited to present your work at the CHI conference." And I culminated my students to New Orleans in 2022.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, to present their work in the international stage
Wow.
during the conference. And they were really nervous.
I bet.
Yes, and because they were the only undergraduate students in the student design competition. They competed with graduate students and PhD students from the other schools like the University of Michigan, the University of California, and a lot of the other universities. But I told my students, do not be nervous, do not be panic, and we need to be well prepared. So I worked with my students I remember in February and March to prepare their presentation. They need to design a poster to share their work. So we work on the poster, the final presentation. So we were really busy in February and March. And I spent a ton of time outside of my class in working with my students and mentoring them how to present in front of all the judges and the experts from the industry, and how to answer questions. When you do the poster presentation, the judges or the audiences, they're gonna come to your poster and ask you a lot of questions and how to answer those questions. So yes, but I really enjoy those moments with my students, and they learn a lot when they work with me on their presentation and their poster design.
I can only imagine the amount of learning that they're doing during that time.
Yes, yes.
What unique qualities or perspectives do you bring to your role as an educator?
I would say when I was in the graduate school, and my formal educators, they instilled a belief in me, and they say the research, the research is an integral part of teaching. And the teaching is the most influential profession in the world. So I always want to integrate research into my teaching and help my students to understand what is research, how to conduct research in our field, and that they can be better equipped with themselves in our field.
So you said your mentors instilled belief in you. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's such a powerful statement. But
Yes.
I'd love to highlight for the learners how they did that for you.
Okay. Let me think about
Absolutely.
my previous experience when I was in graduate school. I think the reason why I encourage my students to participate in the design competition is because when I was in graduate school, that is what my instructor encouraged us to do. Back to 2012, when I was in graduate school, And when my former instructor, they encourage us to submit our work to the same competition, like the KAI student design competition. That year, my concept was to design a smart scarf to cheer people up, because you know the mental health is was a big issue.
A smart scarf.
When I was in graduate school as well, and I started to think about how to help people when you feel like depressed, or when you are overwhelmed, or when you have anxiety, right? And what are you going to do? Maybe we can design a smart scarf, and the scarf can change color. It can detect people's emotion and change color based on the people's emotion.
Wow.
So they can interact with you. But that was just my silly concept. Well, I love the concept, but the concept was not selected as a winners in a KAI student design competition. And my instructor told us, okay, that was fine. That was a very competitive competition, but you received the feedback from the experts. So I did receive a lot of good feedback from the experts in this field, and I started to refine my concept and submit my concept to a conference, and it got accepted into the conference. So that's why I encourage my students to submit their work, and maybe they will realize the importance of their work in the future. It is very important for you to get feedback and share your ideas with the students and the experts in this field.
So your mentors, it sounds like, use the competition to say, listen, I believe in you so much that I think that you should go do this thing that seems very daunting, very challenging, but at the end of this, I think we're going to come out better than when we started.
Yes. But I really love that. I like that. Although my work was not selected in the student design competition, but my students' work were selected as a finalist in the KAI student design competition. So I'm very proud of our JMU students.
As you should be, as am I. To this point in your career, what are you most proud of? And you may have just stolen your own answer, but what are you most proud of?
Yeah, I'm proud of my student success. Like when they present their work in the international stage, actually they shine in an international stage. So I'm really proud of their achievements. And also, another thing I'm proud of is that the students, they can apply the skills they learn from the classroom into their working experience. For example, when one of my students, they did a job interview with a company, and then the students was very excited. So one day when I met with the students, and she was very excited, she said, "Hey, Professor Guo, you know what? Like when I did my job interview with a company, and they asked me what kind of user experience projects you did in school, and I immediately use the projects we did in the semester 317 and the semester 327. I share my portfolio. I share the projects with the recruiters. They love it. And that secure the job. I think she got a job offer because she had a portfolio to showcase all the work she did in the class. Yeah, and I love that moment. I think that almost make me cry when I hear those stories from my students. They love what they learn in the classroom. They can apply the skills when they are in the working place. They can also showcase their work in their portfolio, and their work help them secure the job offers from the companies.
I think that's so powerful when we can link course assignments, like the one you just talked about, course assignments to a place where they were able to use that in their portfolio to land a job, not just knowledge, but that they did this thing. Mm-hmm. That's so awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I'm very happy that in SMAT we're teaching students all those hands-on projects, and they had great experience with different clients, and they have a few great projects they can show to the recruiters, and I'm really proud of our students.
So it seems like you've done a lot of evolving, particularly from the beginning of your teaching career to now going towards more of a human-centered design perspective, what drives you to continue to grow and to continue to try to get better?
As I mentioned earlier, so in our field, you need to keep yourself updated. The industry is frequently changing all its standards, and we want to keep up with the current standards and the current like policies in the industry. So I would say because of my content and the things I'm doing in the user experience design field, you have to do that. There's no choice. You have to learn, right, what the industry is doing currently and how to help our students like better equipped with all the knowledge.
So it's a requirement, essentially.
I would say yes. It's more like, and also I'm conducting the research in the user experience design field, and I need to make my self. I need to like learn all the new things in the industry, so I can also like publish my more work in this field.
So moving away from more the professional, what kind of personal hobbies or things do you enjoy doing that may bring new insights into your work?
Okay. So the new hobbies and the personality, personal stuff. I would say for when we like as a user experience designer, and you're gonna work with the computers a lot. You're gonna use all the computer programs maybe to design the interface. Or for my students, they love sitting in front of the computers and then design the website or the mobile apps. I have the same personality. Like I love computers, right? I love all the programs. I want to play around with Figma for a whole day. But sometimes you need to like get up. You need to just forget about computer and go outside. Maybe you can go running. You can just go to the gym and exercise. That can help you like refresh your mind. Just do not stare at your computer screen like all the day. Sometimes you need to go out to breathe in the fresh air. So that's something I always remind myself. Just stand up and go running, go outside. I love playing badminton with my with my daughter. So yes, that's something we frequently do. And after we work out and exercise, and I can clear up my mind and stay more focused on my work.
Phenomenal game, badminton. How do you balance that personal life with your faculty responsibilities?
I'm still learning it. I would say I'm not really good at balancing my personal life with my faculty responsibilities. For example, I tell my students I can respond to your email within like 24 hours. So my students, I frequently receive the email like 1 hour before the due date of the assignments. And students say, it's urgent. You really need to help me. Yeah, I'm struggling with maybe the coding assignments, or I feel like panic. And when I receive those emails, even if like my family already fell asleep and it's like 11 p.m. during the nighttime, I still like get up and respond to the student's request. So I'm still learning it, how to build up the boundaries and how to separate your personal life with your faculty responsibilities. But I think it is very difficult. And also, I love to hear the perspectives from you or maybe like other colleagues.
Yeah, I would ask, do you feel like your ability to set those boundaries has gotten better, or is pretty much the same as when you started?
It was worse during the pandemic.
Okay.
Because my kid, I need to keep my like daughter at home with me, and I was really it was a big challenge when I taught the online courses and keep my daughter engaged in her work in the same house. But then after the pandemic, when we moved back to campus, I kind of started to learn how to create the boundaries, and also talk with like other faculties and learn from what they're doing. And they say you need to set up the few rules For example, I will never like respond to email at night. And if you have any questions, you need to email me your questions maybe 4 hours before the due dates of the assignments. Or Saturday is my working day, and I never like respond to the emails on Saturday. If you have any if you need any help, you can reach out to me maybe on the work days.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are something I learned from my colleagues, but I need to be more clear with my rules and be more strict with that.
Yeah, that's something that I've gotten a little bit better at. I would say thanks to my wife, to be quite honest with you. She actually said, Eric, you're on your email a lot. And there was times, I'm embarrassed to say, that there would be a student who emailed me at, let's say, 5:54 on Friday. I would email them back within 2 minutes.
Oh.
And it was, it's sad that that's the case, but I no longer do that because my wife did just look at me and say, are you going to do something about that this semester? And I said, guess so, sweetheart. So I just plain out told my students, I said, listen, apparently I have no life and I need to set more boundaries because I routinely respond within 2 minutes. So I said, if you email me after 5 p.m., but you're not going to receive a response until the next day. And then I will say I've always been pretty good about the emailing me right before the assignment. And I'm pretty playful and I can be sarcastic with my students. But the one thing that I've always been very upfront, like if you email me within a couple hours of the due date, you will not receive an email back ever. And I say that because if you are emailing me and if all my things are generally due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. So if you are emailing me at 10 p.m. on Sunday, A, I'm probably asleep already. But B, what were we doing the last 2 weeks when I've given, or 4 weeks or what? It's too late. There's no last minute effort and if there is, it should have been asked before. Like, hey, are there any questions? This is the fourth time I've said it. Hey, are there any questions about the assignment? The other part of that is I try to hedge these sort of things with, every time I upload an assignment, I upload a video explaining the assignment in its entirety. So did you watch the video? If not, go watch the video. And if it's not in the video, then come talk to me.
That's a good point.
So it usually is that. It's taken me a while though to really understand it. It's okay to do that. And I don't have to be everything to everyone at all times. And that's also taken me. Other faculty members say, Eric, you don't have to do that. You really don't have to answer emails within 5 minutes or even within 5 hours. It can take 24 to 48 hours. And particularly over the summer, although obviously over the summer, the emails are just like almost none, to be honest with you, unless you're teaching summer courses. But I've definitely gotten better about creating that personal boundary, particularly on weekends, because those are my time to enjoy me and life in Harrisonburg or hiking and kayaking and stuff like that.
Beautiful things out there.
Exactly. Because I think sometimes our students see us as like, those are the people who just live, like they have like beds next to their classrooms. And like, no. I assure you, we all don't live on campus.
They see us more like human beings.
Exactly. They see us as a human being. In fact, if you see, I always remember whenever I saw somebody outside, a professor or a teacher outside of class, I would always be like, wait, they're not just a teacher. Like that's not all that they do. They are a person. Yeah, they are a person outside. So I try to make sure that I do get to be that person outside instead of constantly just trying to be the professor.
Right. I learned that, so your assignments are usually due on Sunday. So that's why you receive the email, right, on Sunday. So I changed the due date to Friday or even like a Thursday, like the end of the class. So the student, they're going to ask me, right, during the weekdays, not on the weekends. So that is something I change. Also, I start to feel like I do not need to be obligated, right, to responding to all the emails all the time to students. Study to tell myself. I
think giving yourself permission just to be like, you know what, this doesn't really need to be answered in the next 5 minutes or 4 hours, or it can be answered. If today's Friday at 5 p.m., it can be answered on Monday. It's
Yes.
not that big of a deal.
Yes.
And that's been a maturation process, and one that I'm not going to pretend that I'm awesome at, but I'm trying to get better at.
Yes, yes.
Now, this is probably my favorite question, which is, if you could go back in time and meet yourself before your first day at JMU, what advice would you give yourself and why?
Oh, I love that question. I would say, if I went back, I want to meet more people. There are a lot of great faculties in my department, in the college, at JMU. I want to learn from the other colleagues. So I want to build more like a network with my colleagues and meet more people at JMU. So at the beginning of the semester, I remember that when I first came here, and the CFI helped me a lot. And you have all the frequent workshops, attended the workshops, and meet a lot of great faculty members at JMU. We had the frequent discussion, conversation on some teaching topics. I love it. But then after we are done with the first year, and there are no workshops for the faculties who stay here for a longer time, and I really miss all the workshops, all the connections with the other faculties. So if I'm gonna tell myself, I would say go to meet more people.
I think that's a phenomenal lesson. It's a phenomenal lesson. All right, we've been talking with Dr. Chen Guo, correct?
Yes.
All right. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you being on the podcast. I'm sure the listeners enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you, Eric.
You're very welcome. That's it for today's episode of the CFI Faculty Lounge Podcast. A big thank you to our guests, the CFI Ops team, Sarah Rush, Via Chapin, and most importantly, you, our listeners. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a colleague. To stay updated on new podcast episodes and other faculty development opportunities, click the link in the description to join our listserv. Thanks for listening, and tune in next time for more meaningful conversations about teaching and faculty life.